All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar Q&A with the Seed2Kitchen Collaborative and multiple partners. I'm Nicolas Ange-Albert at Seedlinked, and today the goal of the meeting is really to give you all the information, tips, and answer your question for you to have a very successful trial season. And we have multiple speakers today. And yeah, today we will hopefully maybe 20 minutes of presentation, 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and then the rest will be a Q&A. Please keep your question. We'll respond question at the end. And in terms of agenda, we gonna first give an introduction of everybody here, and then we will give a trial overview, expectation, timeline, and I will give a seedling tutorial and then Q&A. And in terms of partner, we have multiple partner, and I'm gonna let Julie start, and everybody maybe introduce themselves before. And so, like I said, I'm Nicolas Ange-Albert at Seedlinked, the platform that allows to crowdsource information and share information. And this webinar is also thanks to eOrganic. Alice, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Alice from eOrganic. Our website is eorganic.org, and we have lots of useful information about organic farming and research. And I'm just here in the background hosting the webinar, and I'll moderate the questions.
Good, thanks. I'm Julie Dawson. I'm at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and we're going to kind of tag team on this. Most of the first part of the trials is part of this Upper Midwest Collaborative Plant Breeding Network. Those include a number of breeding trials in partnership with Nature and Nurture Seed and Casey Tomato, and Keith is here. I'll have you introduce yourself in just a second. And then we also have trials. There's one tomato trial that is more of an advanced line trial from UW-Madison, and some of you may be involved in that. It has similar protocols to the tomato trials that we'll talk about as part of this collaborative plant breeding network. So that is included in the part on the collaborative plant breeding network. There are a few additional traits that will be in communication with participants later. You can ask a question. And then we also have a potato set of trials that Rue Ginger will be discussing kind of after we describe the tomato and pepper trials. So like I said, I'm at UW-Madison. I will pass it along maybe to Keith and then Marissa and Rue, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Keith Mueller, and I'm a tomato breeder, and I'm in the extreme south and western part of the region that this project covers. And so I look at things like heat resistance and flavor, but the 17H03 lines is the one that we're going to highlight tonight that I'm involved in.
Hi, I'm Marissa. I work at UW-Madison as part of Julie's lab, research specialist. And my main focus right now is on our OREI tomato and pepper breeding projects.
Hi, I'm Rue Ginger. I work at UW-Madison in Julie's group with the Seed2Kitchen Collaborative, and my focus is on potato trials.
Great, thanks.
Awesome.
And Erica Kempter couldn't be with us tonight, but is at Nature and Nurture Seeds, and so she's doing a breeding project that we will talk about shortly. Our funding comes from the USDA Organic Research and Extension Initiative. And we have a partner also in Organic Seed Alliance, and Michael Lorden is part of that and also couldn't be here tonight. But you may be hearing from any of us during the season, and feel free to reach out if you have questions after the webinar as well. So I wanted to, yeah, if you want to go to the next slide. I wanted to give kind of just a very brief big picture overview of the project that you're part of, because we're at kind of the final stages of this longer breeding project that is there are a few breeding projects that we're using as case studies to really develop this more collaborative methodology. And so the tomato lines from Keith and from Erica and the pepper breeding lines, they are the way that we're really looking to see if a much more collaborative testing network can help independent breeders develop varieties that really work for the Midwest. And one of the things in plant breeding is that you need a lot of data usually to determine whether a variety is working well across a range of environments. And in this case, we're looking at smaller scale diversified organic farms and gardens. And often independent breeders have trouble getting access to enough sites and enough data to really bring their program up to the level of a larger breeding company. But the larger breeding companies may not be focused on the upper Midwest or on organic systems. And so we really have an opportunity to use some of the new tools with SeedLinked and with the participatory breeding group that we've developed to really work on getting smaller scale breeders access to the same kind of data and visibility as a larger scale program. And so this project started with discussions prior to 2018, but really started with some parent selection in 2018 that led to these 3 different breeding populations that we're using as case studies. They were then crossed to make what we call an F1, which is the first generation, which would be the equivalent of a hybrid that you might buy in a catalog. And if you then take that generation and you go to the next one and start making selections, that's when you really have a breeding project. And so this project has gone from the initial crosses through a number of what we call early generation increases in selection that was primarily done by the independent breeders, Keith and Erica. And then we have moved into testing with this network of growers where we are testing still early versions of potential varieties with everybody and using your data that you send back and the seed that you send back to really make selections that then could be better adapted to the Midwest. And so we've gone through 2 years of that with growers returning data and selections, and we do a summary of the data with SeedLinked and then an increase in the greenhouse and we send seed back out. And so now we're really on this last phase of testing to decide what gets out into a variety. And that will be next year where we're really looking to scale up seed production and then release a variety. And these varieties are all going to be part of the open source seed initiative. If you're familiar with that, happy to answer questions on that later if they come up. I'm gonna go to the next slide. So the specific projects that you may be part of one or multiple projects. The one that was initiated by Erica Kempter at Nature and Nurture Seed is a Juliet by Blush population. So Juliet is a nice red hybrid tomato that many people use. It is a hybrid, so you have to buy seed every year. And Blush, which is an open pollinated variety, but has the potential to crack a little more. It has good flavor. And Erica really wanted to combine the characteristics of both of these varieties into a new OP that would have really excellent flavor and be more of a Juliet type phenotype with potentially stripes, which has a really nice visual image. And you can see that in this picture, the 2 parents are there, and then we get a lot of different progeny. You know, the seeds that come from this cross span all different colors, shapes, and striped, no striped. And so we're looking for one phenotype that Erica is particularly interested in. But the beauty of having this network is we also discovered a lot of really cool phenotypes that people may continue on their own, even if Erica is not specifically looking for that for this variety that she's hopefully developing. Everybody is free to save seed and really develop their own varieties out of this as well, as part of the OSSI, the open source seed initiative. So next slide. The second trial that you are potentially part of is one that Keith Mueller initiated, really trying to get some novel carotenoids and coloration into a cocktail size, saladette size, whatever your preferred terminology is, tomato. Often these have very intense flavor. We're often told they have similar flavor to Sun Gold, but in a larger size, which is what growers are often interested in, because Sun Gold can be very difficult to keep up with in terms of harvest. It also has some really nice starburst patterns with the novel carotenoids that come from various genetic resources that Keith identified that were tomatoes from other parts of the world, and really, took a lot of time to cross those into a variety that is now adapted to the upper Midwest. And so that is one of the populations where we're, again, at this phase that's near release and should have a variety in the next couple of years based on the trial data. And then the last breeding population that is part of this series of case studies for the organic research project is a pepper breeding trial where the Organic Seed Alliance, Kit Healy, who is working for them, crossed Doe Hill, which is from Hudson Valley Seed Library, and Wisconsin Lakes, which is a historic variety from this region that many of the smaller seed companies around here produce and sell. The idea is that Doe Hill is a very flavorful, very productive, but small bell pepper, and Wisconsin Lakes is very flavorful, adapted to early season. It's a larger pepper, but it has a lot of wrinkles that can potentially lead to water collecting, and it can also take a little longer to ripen, just being a bigger pepper to get all the way to red. And so we're looking for an early season red variety, but again, we have a lot of different variety in the seeds that come from this cross. And so we have some yellow, some red, some that are still very small, some that are very large. And we're looking for a phenotype that's similar to this F1 hybrid Snackabelle Red, but in an OP variety that's well adapted to the Midwest. So with that, I will turn it over to Marissa. And again, happy to answer questions.
Great. So for the trials, I'm just going to outline the traits that we ask you to assess, and then the timing around that you can plan to do them. So the timing is based on our own data calendar. While we at the station will do multiple checks of the disease resistance and the yield overall. We only ask you to do it once. So vigor is going to be 4 weeks after planting, just how have the transplants feeling in the ground? Are they, jocked a lot? Are they growing really well? And that is a 1 to 5 scale, which Seedlink will walk you through as well. And then 11 weeks after your planting or thereabouts, we ask you to assess disease resistance and earliness. So earliness is just how much fruit is there to harvest compared to the other ones in the trial, or your own varieties that you have. And then about 16 weeks after planting, depending on how fast things are ripening, your growing conditions and such, we'll ask questions about appearance, overall marketability. And then once you have your first harvest, which again can be variable for everyone, we ask about flavor and yield. So go ahead, crack one open, eat it, let us know how it is. And then Seedlink is really great for community and also just adding different things. So you could always make a post or add a comment on the variety. So just things about cracking, like Julie mentioned with blush, can have a lot of issues with that. So we want to assess the new varieties on how that is, or things such as blossom end rot, leaf shape, and just really anything you find interesting, because we want to make varieties that you want to grow in the future. So anything that you find interesting, you can let us know. And then peppers have pretty similar traits. There are a few more, such as lodging resistance, which is just how much the plant will want to stand up straight. And then also sun scald resistance, and we do specifically ask about blossom end rot resistance with peppers. And then the same appearance for post-harvest traits as well. And I can post on the Seedlink feed, when we're doing our own trait collection, and then, remind you that, hey, it's time to do this. So And we can also share this presentation and any other resources you need. If you're still a little unsure about what SunScald really looks like, or what rating a lodging would be or stuff like that, always happy to answer questions like via our email or on the Seedlinked feed. Great. And then I'm going to pass it over to Rue.
Thank you, Marissa. So the potato trials are a little bit more straightforward in just being variety trials. We have trials for 5 different market classes of potato this year, and some of you may be enrolled in several of those trials. So we're looking at russet potatoes, yellow potatoes, red potatoes, blue or sometimes called purple potatoes, all of which have yellow flesh in this trial, and then also fingerling varieties. Each of those trials is going to work in much the same way. We ask you to look at several growing season traits. It's optional to do this, but these are this is useful information to us to correlate with some of the observations you may make on how they do at harvest. So first we ask you to look at the vigor of the plants. So it's ideal to do this in the early season, generally 2 or 3 weeks after emergence. And if you look at the picture where I have some boxes shown, you can see there that there is, those are plants from 2 different varieties, and you can see that there's quite a difference in their size. So this, again, is on a 1 to 5 scale. So we just are looking for a comparison across all of the varieties that you have in your trial on that 1 to 5 scale. A couple of weeks after that, we're interested in knowing about canopy closure. This is a good measure of how well the plants are able to crowd out weeds. Again, this is just on a 1 to 5 scale from the least closure of the canopy to the most. Throughout the season, you might see some diseases popping up on the leaves of the potatoes. I've got an example of that in the upper right corner, showing some early blight on potato leaves. So you can assess that as you see issues. If you do not see issues, then there's not necessarily a reason to record that trait. And you also may be dealing with some insect damage to your plants. Colorado potato beetle is the usual suspect. Sometimes people get some flea beetle damage on their plants. So usually that's going to be probably a little before mid-season through mid-season for Colorado potato beetle. So then at harvest, that's where we would like you to assess the yield. And we have a couple of ways of doing that. First, there is just simply how high the yield of the potatoes are, how many potatoes you get. But we'd also like you to give us some feedback on the marketable yield, and that's the proportion of potatoes that you would be able to take to market or that you consider attractive potatoes that you're happy to use at home if you're growing for yourself. We also ask you to rate their appearance. This is a trait that you could consider either as appearance or as marketability, depending on whether you're looking at it for your own use or for what your customers may be interested in. And then finally, at harvest or soon after harvest, if you can rate the flavor. That's obviously a little bit more involved with potatoes than it is with something like tomatoes or peppers, since you are obviously going to be cooking them ahead of time. So this is also one that it's really useful if you're able to do that, and we understand if that's a little bit much to get through. You have the opportunity also to just give an overall rating that kind of combines all of the aspects of the potatoes through the season and at harvest in terms of which your preferred varieties are. Again, please use the feed to post pictures, to ask questions. And with some of these pictures in here, I've got a couple of examples here of a variety last year that had some disease issues. So the one where you can see that the round rings on the potatoes is a viral symptom, and then there is a bacterial soft rot symptom on the next ones that have the dark kind of craters on the potatoes. So anytime you have an issue like that, it's really helpful to share that, because sometimes if multiple people are saying the same thing, we can trace it back to the cause. Yeah,
And I will show you how to do that on Seedlink as you keep improving, and now you can tag traits to a picture. So I will show you that after.
So I think that was my last slide. Yeah, and I will pass it back to Julie.
Yeah, so this is a partnership with the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Michigan State University has a research station there, and I think James is actually on. I don't know if you're willing to unmute James and talk a little bit about this. This is an opportunity we've had to do trials for northern climates. So we have ours in Spooner, Wisconsin, and then there's the Upper Peninsula Research and Extension Center, and we have a good group of farmers up in the Upper Peninsula testing some of these different breeding lines. And there's also a broccoli trial, I believe. I don't know, James, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, how's it going?
Great. Glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's been a wonderful opportunity to collaborate with CD Kitchen and the crew there at UW. We've been involved for the last 3 years, I think now, conducting some of the trials. And at the Upper Peninsula Research and Extension Center, we kind of have been able to do a little bit more replicated work, which is nice, provide a little bit more of the quantitative data, but then also bring in farmers from Michigan, and one near the Spooner Station last year as well, Northcroft Farm, and just add to the cohort of growers that are conducting the on-farm trials as well. So we'll be in the second year funded through the SARE Partnership Program. This year was the same group of farmers. And so looking forward to continuing forward and growing the partnership. And it's been great getting to use Seedlink and also connecting with the collaborative breeding trials. Has been a wonderful experience, and seeing how that particular method moves forward as well.
Thanks. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, now I'm gonna give you a tutorial on Seedlink. You heard a lot about different traits and what to record, and I'm gonna show you a little bit how to do it. First on data collection, then communication. I want to show you a little bit more how to share update, ask question, and also get the information that Marissa or James or other or me will send, and show also how to look at the result and really use all the resources that everybody's sharing. And first, I know some and maybe most of you are using the app, but just a reminder that I really encourage you to use the app, download the app. It's obviously free, and it works pretty well offline when you put on airplane mode, and it really allows you to take some pictures on the go and do a lot of things. And the app has different parts. It's much more like any app and social media app or tracking app. You can see at the bottom, you have the feed or the communication. The search is where you can look at many, actually almost 500,000 of information that all of you posted. And track is really where everything is happening, where you record, so you're planting, and here you see all your trial, active trial. You can have invitation to join a trial. You can look at the result, you can see on top. And then if you look at one trial, you have 3 little dots on the right, and that's a first of action you can do. You can first read the description of the trial. Second, you can add a check. Maybe you're doing the potato and you have your own favorite potato. You can add it as a check, or same for the breeding trial. Maybe you have a Snackable or other, but you can add another one. Now you can add, you have access to your trial management log, like all the how the management, if you had any stress, if you irrigated, till or minimum till. So it gives you a lot of action you can do. And then when you click on the card, here is where really most of the data tracking happen. On top, you have access to traits, and you have a quick information box pop up. It can give you a quick info on what is the traits. Then you have your list of a variety, and you can enter for each traits. And then you have, again, those three little dots to access to tracking date, image, comment, and report failure. We also have, you can have access to a description of the variety. Some don't have description, maybe if they're more experimental, but some might have more. And at the bottom is where you can have access directly to the feed, as each trial has kind of their own Facebook group and feed where you can communicate. And it's also where you can complete your trial. I want to go in date. I really push all of you to enter planting date, harvest date. You really give valuable information, especially for maturity, and we are planning to use this in the future for much more modeling and climate. And so we are not using to the fullest, but we will use it even more. Transplanting date can be optional depending on the crop. Picture you've seen through Marissa and Rue and Julie, like picture is so important. And so I really, really encourage you to upload as many pictures that are meaningful, obviously, but you've seen many different traits like leaf issue or insect or fruits and so forth, stress, canopy closure, vigor, all those could be very interesting picture. And now when you upload a picture, you can tag a traits, which will be able to give even more information and story and context of each picture. And so that I really encourage you to use that. And as always, and you've done it, give advice back to Seedlink at feedback at Seedlink to help at seedlink.com or Nico at Seedlink on what's work, what doesn't work, and suggestion. Comments, we have different comments possible within a traits. And I think I'm sure if you use the search in Seedlink, you can dive into hundreds of comments, and it's very useful to be able to sort comment by traits and look at certain aspect and also general comment. And that where, yeah, you're welcome to talk about deeper of the flavor of potato with Rue, on texture, maybe sweetness and skin sickness and other. And I'm sure Rue or Marissa, we will do some posts in the feed about maybe a few tips on how to assess the flavor, for example. But you can enter multiple review. Marissa mentioned that, for example, Marissa and her crew at the station, they will enter multiple review by traits. You can also do that if you feel like, or if you see from a disease and you want to enter different review for different type of disease, let's say for tomato, you can enter multiple review with the comments and add your comment for each review. And so when you double tap on the rating, you pop up this screen that you can see here. It's also a way if you want to delete or edit a review, you can do so. So I talk about the offline mode. Again, the best way to use the offline mode, if you know that you have terrible connection in the field, start in your house, open your app, make sure it's synced to the cloud. And then when in the field, put on airplane mode. This way the phone really know that you need to save everything on the phone. It's surprisingly a very hard thing to develop as engineering because connectivity or reception is not a black and white thing, it's just a gradient. And so it's hard to know when we want to save on the phone or on the cloud. So airplane mode is definitely the best way. Yeah, at the end, don't forget to complete your trial. As you may have seen in results, now we have many more filters. You can filter result by stress, such as drought or too much water, excess rain. And so the context of your rating become more and more important as we are adding feature and we are using all your information more and more. And so please don't forget to enter the management. Now I just want to dive a little bit in the communication. I'm almost done and it's perfect. We are at 30-minute mark. I really encourage you. So if you have the app, we have push notification. I know most of you and maybe turn off push notification, but we also have an internal notification in the app. And that's where, let's say Marissa or Julie will send you a reminder or send you instruction on tomato vigor assessment, or you will receive a notification right away and you can click on it and see the instructions. So it's a very useful thing. We have the feed is really built like any social media, the same user experience. So when you click on the feed and you have this little blue icon like Twitter and other, you can click and create a post. And we really encourage you to, if you have any question, really the communication is the best place is within the feed of Seedlinked. And how does it work? When you create a post, you choose a trial you want to put a post. If it's a question or update or recommendation, you have a title and a description. You can upload picture. It's all the time great to give a context. You can even put hyperlink here, Rue, on what when she posted on Potato. One cool thing also is you can use the @ to tag variety. Maybe you are talking about Snackable Red, and you can say @Snackable Red or somebody, Rue, and so it really give a context to your post. And last, and we will do a debrief webinar in the fall, but when you're done, you have access to the result right away. It's this tool that was built with all of you and everyone collaboratively. One of the main goals of building this platform was to be able to have instant result sharing and not have to wait 12 months or more. And so you can really play with it and make decisions and so forth. And it's fun. It's just to be part of a project. You really see the outcome. And so you can look at picture. You can see here the tagging, when it was taken, and you can even really, I highly encourage to like the best picture and the most meaningful picture you like. Same for comments. Yeah, that was on the web, that's on the app. You can like comments too, you push it on the front. So please feel free to curate the picture and the comment you like the most. It's very useful. And yeah, that's it from my end. And I can really have been showing mostly like the mobile. I have the live web platform here. So if you have any question, I can also show the web version on how to collect data. I will be happy to answer any question. So
Nico, I have a question for you,
yeah,
and it has to do with going offline, the airplane mode.
yeah.
So as you know, I go out to a farm that's quite a bit ways away, and I was one of the people that are having problems with the data issue. But if I have to use my phone for an emergency or something, and I go back online, will it knock that data, or once it's in
No,
there, it's
no, he will save on the phone, and then when he
okay?
find enough connection, he will sync to the cloud. And you don't have to put it in airplane mode. It's just you see the most efficiency. Sometimes if you're not in airplane mode, you might see a wheel spinning, like the phone is like, should I send this to the cloud or should I send it to the phone?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
And it's syncing, and it's extremely hard to figure out at what threshold, and so it's why I just as a tip is just to put on airplane mode. But great, yeah, great question.
We have
So
some other questions coming in here too. They look like some good ones too. Here's one from Patricia. For rating 1 to 5, if they're all pretty good, should they all get 4, or should I give each of them a different number to indicate minor differences?
That's a great question. That's like the question in plant breeding. Yeah, so I think that if all of the varieties are exactly the same, then they should get the same score, but you should try to use the whole scale when you can, if there are actually differences, because if every variety has exactly the same score, we can't do much with that data in terms of selecting among the varieties in the trial. So I would say, like, don't force them into 4 categories because there are 4 varieties. but really grade them pretty hard. If you are looking at them, I would say, look at them from different angles, maybe go back a couple times and say, are these actually all really the same, or are there some that are actually better? And then you could use 2 or 3 of the numbers instead of just one. And Nico,
And if
please
you,
comment
yeah,
too.
no, I mean, I think it's also great why we have comments within the traits. Like you may end up, yeah, putting 3, 3, 4, or, but please, like you may in flavor, you may like them and all of them, but you're gonna see difference, and having comments on, yeah, maybe texture or whatever could be a great way to give content a little bit more nuance, potentially.
Okay, great. There's a question in here about potato varieties, and I think Rue was okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, so John had asked that there are 4 he'd seen that there were 4 potato varieties loaded on the app, and John has 12 varieties that he's received. So should he enter the other varieties in the app? And then Ruth wanted to know if John was signed up for multiple trials. And so now he sees that there are multiple varieties under each trial. So there may be more people with that question as well. So that's why I read
Yeah,
the
and I'm
whole thing out there.
sharing here's a web, and each card here is it's a trial, and so I love those potato trial. I'm part of them too, so I love fingerling. You see the red here, and so when you click on it here, you have the 3 variety for the fingerling, and if you go back here, you have the 3 for the red. So you should have a trial for each of them. So if you have 12, you probably have all trial.
And actually, while you have that up, Nico, or
Oh, yeah, let me share it again.
yeah, I forgot to mention that while this is a variety trial, rather than the kind of selection trial that the breeding trials are for tomato and pepper, this does have some breeding lines in it which are from the Wisconsin potato breeding program. So yeah, this is an example. It's a very, very pretty little potato. I'm excited to hear what people think of it. And if you have a variety that you're trialing that has a long string of letters and numbers, it is a breeding line.
Patricia wanted to know whether she commented that the tasting guidelines for tomatoes that was sent last year was very eye-opening. Do we have something similar for the pepper tasting?
Great point. We should send some on the feed, yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall the tomato tasting guideline. Julie, do you remember? And if Patricia, yeah, if we don't, could you please send that to us?
Well, I think we
Yeah, I
sent
think we sent something. I think peppers could follow a similar guideline. The main difference is like tomatoes often have this more savory undertone. So the peppers, you would still do the sweet acid, and peppers, I'm not sure if you would also still want the savory notes, but you're still doing it on a 1 to 5 scale. And I think we described kind of the different things to look for. I will find that and we can send it out again.
Yeah, I think we built a feed, a post in the feed, I remember last year
Yeah.
on tomato, and yeah, it would be fun to let's do for all the crop. I'm interested.
Yeah, we can do that.
And then for the potato, I still have a memory, and I think it's Julie. We had a potato tasting at a restaurant in Madison, and for me, it was so eye opening to
Yeah, the chef
see.
said.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea. Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a question from Emily. I'm growing with another person and I'm trying to figure out how to add them so that we can both add data. Is that possible, or do we need to share an account?
It's coming. Too many people are asking it. I'm sorry it took a while, but it's not possible yet. It's really on the work. It's just different architecture of the platform, but we are working on it right now. And my guess is probably going to be too late for this season. It might come in July. If we, I will definitely keep you posted. Like, and that's a good segue. We have a newsletter on Seedlink. I don't know if you are on it or not, but all those updates as really you are building this platform, like just this question. It's all those questions and those feedbacks that are building this tool together. And we send newsletter on like new release and new feature and so forth. So we will let you know probably this way when that's done. I'm trying to think
You can
about
share a login.
exactly. Yeah.
We could make a tutorial for how to add another account to the same trial as soon as that's available.
Yeah. But yeah, sharing login work just fine. So if you two have the same app with the same login, it's gonna work. It's not gonna block one or the other. So yeah, great point, Julie. I'm really excited. It's like the last year, right? And so we started like I think for the pepper, we had close to 30 line, the funnel of breeding, and now we're down to 4. And so yeah, I'm really excited to see which of the one will be ready for release. And so
Yeah, same here. I think we have some really good experience. We've learned a lot along the way, and we've started with these, essentially breeding projects and developed the methods for all of the farmers and gardeners to participate. We're kind of in the final stages of releasing things now and planning the next one. So if you're interested, we will have more, if you have ideas for these 2 parents, I think would make a great population. Do you want to look at them? Or I really need a tomato that does XYZ. Please do comment, send us feedback, because the idea is to make this process of breeding better varieties for all of us in the upper Midwest easier for small breeding programs. So not the large seed companies that have a lot of resources, but people like Keith and Erica and the public sector like UW, independent breeders. We really want to make this possible in a way that prior to this was logistically pretty complicated to do this many farmers actually contributing meaningful data to selection.
I would like to
for participating.
yeah.
I would like to reiterate what Nicholas said about putting in comments, because it really helps me. It's the participatory part. Things that you experience that may not necessarily be quantifiable by a number can be written in, and you may pick up on something that other people they may have noticed, but they didn't respond to it, or they didn't know how to put words to it. So it's really helpful to use those comments. I like the idea of it being over time, because also for me, there's a whole range of people that I want the tomato at this time and I don't want it full ripe. Other people want it full ripe. So it helps if you comment about what you think is the best time for that. But use those comments. It's really helpful for us.
Yeah, and really go on the search in Seedlink and look at some of those tomato and peppers that are highly rated, and go down and you will see the comment. It's very surprising. And the result too, you will see kind of all combined what picture and information it gave you. Just one last thing about Seedlink, as kind of this project wrap up 4 years project. I think we had close to 3,000 feedback and advice to make this tool better. And so thank you so much. Yeah. And I'm sure we're gonna have more this year, but
we're also happy to take requests on resources that you would like to see. We're currently working on one that is a kind of guide to thinking about climate change and seeds in the upper Midwest. And last year we did a webinar series that's available on eOrganic that looked at, how a small scale breeding program might be organized for people that were interested in doing that. And if there are things that you would find interesting and useful that we could either do a webinar, do a field day, do a video, please do ask us for that. And don't worry about asking questions that you think are too simple or too complicated. Like, we like to have them all.
Yeah, thanks so much. Have a great growing season. Tomato are going in soon, and so it's such an exciting time of the year. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you all.
Bye
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.